Thrills, spills, big sends and fancy weekends. With the BMW top of the hill. This is the mid-season review.
You got it right that time, well done.
Take 100. I've had so little sleep, I'm knackered.
Hello and welcome back to the British Touring Car Podcast. Yes, we are in the mid-season break now, so we thought we would get you up to date with how each and every driver has done so far this season. Well, the ones that have completed all the rounds anyway. And yeah, see what your thoughts are going into the start of the next half of the season. Who you think have been the best drivers, the worst drivers, and who have thrown up the surprises, really.
Yeah, it's a bit of a return to an old school theme. We're going to do this via the route of driver grades, which also we dropped this season as a separate pod. We are going to do this review in the style of driver grades. Apologies in advance. I'm not hungover this week, but I am very tired as I did stay up all election night just to watch the changes that were happening.
I'm amazed it didn't put you to sleep, because it put me to sleep in the end. But
it was quite exciting as an election night goes. It was like an FA Cup draw, but better. Although I think it would have been improved by having Ian Wright giving analysis on how
I still think Rod Stewart pulling the balls out, going, "This is the elected member for this constituency."
And maybe having Roy Keane going, "No, they got lazy in that constituency." So yeah, Anyway.
Oh dear.
Anyway.
Right, we'll crack straight on.
Let's stick to what we're good at, or semi good at anyway.
We'll crack straight on into it then, and we're going to start with the Napa Racing boys. So Ash Sutton is up first.
Yeah, so 1 win, 9 podiums, sitting third in the championship so far at the halfway stage. Has led the championship for pretty much all the season.
He has, yeah.
But a poor weekend at Alton has left him third in the standings. How do you see his season in terms of a grade, first and foremost?
So for grade-wise, it has to be an A, because he's been so, well, my note says, consistent, but not spectacular.
Yeah.
Not what we saw last season, but I think once we knew hybrid was going to be working as it does, we knew you were going to have to be much more consistent, bank the points where you can, and maybe not necessarily take those race wins, which he hasn't.
I also think is it the third or fourth best car this year? I certainly don't think it's the best car or the second best car this year.
Okay.
It's possible. I think it's probably third. I think it probably is still better than Toyota.
Yes, definitely.
So yeah, I'm going to go it's the third best car this year, whereas last year it was by far and away. It was the Red Bull of the racing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with A completely. Big second half of the season for Sutton now. He's not too far back in the standings. It's not like he's out of the equation, but yeah, he's got to bounce back at Croft.
Yeah, this will be the first time since the opening round that he'll obviously have more hybrid than he's used to having. So it'll be interesting to see how he pushes on through the rest of the season. We always know he's going to be there or thereabouts by the end.
Yeah. Okay, moving on to Dan Camish. No wins, but 5 podiums. Sits fourth in the title race. A bit of a resurgence in the second quarter of the first half. We're going into full maths here. But yeah, first 3 rounds or so, not particularly exciting. Last 2 has improved and moved quite further up the grid in terms of positions and championship points.
Yeah, he certainly had a tricky start, but recently, especially at Thruxton at Alton, his performances have been kind of what I would have expected from him from the start of the season.
Yeah,
which, I don't know, he struggled to replicate his Honda form in this Ford, and I don't know whether it's him getting used to the car or whether he's just been a little bit unlucky at times.
He's also not leading the team anymore, which he was at Honda, arguably. And he's up against one of the greatest drivers we're going to probably see in this series. So
Osborne?
Yes. Yes. It's got to be difficult.
So yeah, I've got Camish down as a B, but I certainly think there is room for improvement.
Yeah, but he's certainly coming on strong, and just because the way we recorded Alton Park, because he's got quite angry about this on social media, he didn't try and take Sutton's wing off for him at Alton
Not
Park.
directly angry with us, must I add?
No, just a suggestion. So yes, we'll just ND that there. Okay, Dan Rowbottom, his best position of the year has been a 4th. He sits 11th in the championship. I've gone for a C. I will say he's had some rotten luck so far this season. I would also say he's potentially been guilty of overdriving at times as well. It just feels like this is where Rowbottom's touring car career is. It's always on the cusp of being a bit better, but yeah, it just seems a little bit stuck in this.
When you compare it to his form last season, I don't think it's anywhere near as good.
No.
He was up there with Camish and Sutton last season. I don't know whether that was more down to the car or whether he was just in a good vein of form. But he was there, able to help those two guys out when it was necessary, missing gears and such like.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we really haven't seen the consistency from him.
I do think he's a confidence driver.
Yes,
I think that came across a little bit on the not Need for Speed, On the Limit, whatever the documentary was called, the On the Limit documentary. I think that he is a confidence driver. I think that he potentially struggles a little bit compared to someone like Sutton, who has a bad race, shrugs it off, moves on to the next.
Yeah,
I kind
dwell on things.
Yeah, I kind of think he's almost like that striker. Just needs one going off his arse, and then he gets the goal scoring vein of form going. But
he needs to luck into a podium or a win, and he'll be right for the rest of the season, kind of thing.
Yeah, so he has had some bad luck this season.
Yes.
Let's not get away from that. And it's always going to be difficult when you're comparing yourself to Sutton and Camish primarily.
Dare I say, if he sees the stewards a little less often in the second half of the season,
that's also a fair comment.
He'll probably have a little bit more luck.
That's also a fair comment. Yeah, that's also a fair comment.
Osborne then?
Yeah, I mean, so 9th is his best position overall, but he's 18th in a 21-man championship in a Napa Ford, a manufacturer-backed Napa Ford. Now, I know that I've said the Napa's not as strong this year as it was last year, but I mean, it's better, I think, than the Toyota Vauxhall and Leon, which is what he's primarily fighting against and losing against them too often.
The fact that he, due to a rule regulation adjustment, shall we say, was able to compete at Jack Sears this year, we would have been expecting him to be out there leading the field kind of thing.
Yeah.
At least competing in those top two positions. But he seems to be nowhere. The fact that he's only ahead of Halstead, De Leon and Sumpton is a real issue in my head. 3
rookies, effectively.
Yeah.
Different stage rookies, but 3 rookies, effectively. A lad who's into his first full season, a lad who's got in on the touring car package for the first time, a lad who's only in his second season, to be fair. So they are... Yeah.
It's an E overall, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I went for D originally, and I just realised how disappointing it had been. You know, it's just... And look, none of us are expecting Osborne to be winning races. Let's make that abundantly clear. But to only have his best position to have been a 9th.
I think he should be consistently looking to be inside the top 15 at the very least. Maybe even top 12, especially for reverse grids, and be there or thereabouts.
Yeah, I agree with you, mate.
The performances and the amount of finishes that he's had outside the points is difficult to comprehend, really, in that car.
I agree. Okay, moving on to the BMW stable then. We'll start off with Colin Turkington, who's got 2 wins, a further podium, and is 6th overall. Mm-hmm. He's had some good highs and had some lows in this first half of the season. It's a C overall from me. I think what we're really seeing Colin struggle with now is that if something goes wrong, he seems to be find it really difficult to save that weekend. So bad race one, that's it. The weekend's almost a write-off. There's no moving through the field in that car. And part of that, I think, is to set up. I think they haven't quite got set up right at that side of the WSR garage. We'll come to someone that has got it right a bit further on.
Do you think that's because the amount of changes that there have reportedly been to the car this season, and he hasn't quite gelled with it?
I think that will be part of it. I think that obviously when you make such big change to the car, a lot of the data you've got from the previous seasons is now fairly irrelevant and unusable. I think that you can say, well, Hill's performing, as we'll get to, but Hill is a completely different style of driver in terms so
massively.
Hill's setups and data is almost going to be completely useless to Colin as well, because it's a complete difference in driving styles. I say he's 6th in the championship. He's a fair way off the top now. He's had a couple of really bad weekends. I say the thing that stands out for me is that once he seems stuck in a pack, that's it. He's not coming through it. Sutton, Hill, Ingram end up in the pack. They'll come through it.
We saw his confidence when he was out front at Brands, and that was his really good weekend of the year. Having one really good weekend out of 5 is not going to win you a championship.
No, when he's in his comfort zone, like those positions near the front, etc., he's really good. It's just that, and I've raised it before, and I know it's a bit, but it's the wheel-to-wheel racing, and I'm not sure in this ultra-competitive grid with the hybrid making the difference and the tyre regulations making the difference as it is. I'm not sure he's able to drive around it at the moment.
The thing that sticks with me the most is the fact that Cook is now ahead of him in the championship.
Yeah.
And that Toyota has struggled at times this season, but he's done enough and had enough consistency with points that he's actually ahead of him, even though he's only taken 1 win.
Yeah. And even Cook, to be fair, if he starts 14th, 15th, he'll get to around 8th or 7th because he'll get through some of the pack, and that's been the problem for Colin. Albeit, as I say, he has had some bad luck and been caught up in incidents. I think he got turned around at Alton. We don't know fully what happened because replays don't exist, but he has had some bad luck in the pack as well. And that's the problem. Once you're in the pack, you are susceptible to having an incident with somebody. Anyway, moving on from him, we'll go on to Morgan, who is his teammate, who sits 8th in the championship. His best position of the year so far is a 4th, so he's not taken a podium as of yet. He's been really good in qualifying. Just not. It
amazes me how good he's been in qualifying this year, and that he hasn't taken a podium from it.
Just goes backwards in the race. He's had some awful race starts off the line. That's stuck out for me so far this season,
especially in a BMW.
Exactly. I'm going for a C overall. He's not done a great deal wrong. He's not done a great deal spectacularly. He has been, to be fair to what BMW would probably want coming into the season, he's been a fairly solid second driver, banking the points, and you know.
He just hasn't converted enough for me, and I think to be sitting 8th in the championship, I don't know, he might be a little bit lucky to be there.
You say that, but you look at who's ahead of him. Who do you really expect him to be ahead of?
Aaron Taylor-Smith being the main one.
Yeah, okay, that's straight away shot down that one. Yeah,
But yeah,
maybe
compare him to the performances that Turkington has. I think he should be almost level on points.
Well, he's not far back.
I know he's not far back, but I kind of want a little bit more from him.
Okay, I agree. I don't want to see a little bit more. I agree, and I think a podium is going to be the very least for the second half of the season.
Definitely.
I agree with you on that. I do think he has had the chance to win races this year. I think Donington Park opening weekend is one of them that really did slip through his fingers. I can say overall. Bobby Thompson, we're not going to give a grade to. How could you grade someone that's won, radio race 3 times? Look, we've done this to death, but in short, it's criminal he's not on the grid. I can't understand how some drivers can get funding and he can't. I'm not naming any names, I'm not having a go at anybody because they all work really hard to get their funding.
Do you know what I don't understand more?
Go on.
Is that how they managed to get the funding for Snetterton, have a car wrapped in a livery like they did. It was not just a case of, it's a BMW manufacturer with a few extra sponsors. It was a whole livery with Zeus Cloud, and they've only been able to do 1 meeting. It's crazy.
The world of business around touring cars is absolutely crazy. It's madness to me that, as I say, some drivers seem to be able to get this. And they say they all work hard to get the sponsorship. It's not be able to go at any of the drivers, but if you're a sponsor, I find it crazy that some of the drivers are getting sponsorship over Bobby Thompson. But there we go. And then we move on to Jake Hill, who is obviously with the Laser Tools WSR outfit. A+ for me. He is the driver in form, so he's got 5 wins, 3 podiums, sits top of the table. He has still got a mistake in him, and we have seen that with the Brands Hatch weekend. Although, to be fair to him, the steering snapping on him isn't really a mistake. That is just unfortunate.
He seemed to struggle settling into the season. But as you say, in the last 3 rounds, he has been the driver on form and almost, I say, unbeatable.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, he's found a really happy place with that car, and is it difficult to look past him continuing this form, especially with the tracks we're going to go to? Knock Hill's going to be a traction circuit that he went well at last year. You've got Croft as well, which is traditionally a BMW stronghold.
Although Sutton likes it there as well, but Silverstone tends to be a good BMW track.
As long as you've got the grunt.
I don't. The honest answer is I don't know. I think Hill is certainly the man to beat at the moment, but touring cars can change so quickly.
And if he really needs it at the end of the season, he can do some overtaking on the grass and it'll be all fine.
What will be interesting for Hill, particularly at Croft, is that he's now going to be in a position he's not been before, which is where the hybrid is. Can he continue the good qualifying? I mean, he recovered the weekend really well at Alton Park. Let's not forget, he really struggled to get into Q2 at Alton Park qualifying. So,
but I think that might have been more of a setup issue.
Possibly with Croft, with those long straights, hybrid could make a big difference there. We'll get on to that in the Croft preview, obviously. But yeah, he's now in a different position he's not been in before this season. I don't think it'll be I don't think it'll derail his season, but something to bear in mind. And it's hard to see past him in the form he's in. The summer break will come at the wrong time. He'd have wanted to be back in the car this weekend and continue that onwards.
I'm pretty sure he'll be doing some club meetings across the off season.
Well, he's already done the Super Tour last weekend at Brands, hasn't he? So I think he won that race as well. So
doesn't surprise me in the form that he's in.
He's in great form. He's in a good place, and we'll see what can he do for the rest of the season. Okay, moving into the Hyundai garage. We'll start with Ingram. 3 wins, 4 podiums, second in the championship. Racing really well, looks really fast. The car looks really good underneath him. It's an A. I'm not sure he's done an awful lot wrong so far this season.
On my notes, I put same as Sutton. Consistent, not amazingly spectacular, although that qualifying performance at Alton Park was one to behold, considering the amount of hybrid that he had and how at one he felt with the car.
Yeah.
The gap that we saw was kind of a little bit unheard of. But yeah, he seems really comfortable. He likes where the car's at. I think he's relishing the chance to have Sutton and Hill to battle against.
And we're seeing with him and Ingram, him and Sutton rather, just 2 of the most spectacular overtakers of a British touring car. The way they can wield their machinery to the millimetre of their overtakes is absolutely stunning.
I'm glad that, just going back to Alton Park, I'm glad that the stewards didn't intervene on that first lap that they had there.
Oh yeah,
touching and bashing and stuff, because it worked out as I think was fair.
Completely agree. I think if you were to put a gun to my head and say at this stage who do you think will win it out of those 3, I would probably back Ingram the most.
Really?
I think the Hyundai is the best car on the grid this year.
Okay.
You've won me over with that about how powerful you have with how powerful the engine is. Yeah. And while you might be saying we're going to BMW strongholds, we're also going to areas where you need a real powerful engine.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the Hyundai may have a bit of benefit. And the setup on that car looks really good as well. Anyway, we'll move on to Chilton, who's had a really up and down season as well. He's another that's qualified, Morgan-esque really. He's qualified well. He has taken a podium. He sits 10th overall. That podium has elevated him to a B- for me.
Yeah, he's done a lot better than I expected he would do this season. It seems to be the fact of every season we come into now, we go, has Chilton passed it? He's one of the older statesmen on the grid, and is he in that position where he's just there to kind of make up the numbers in that team, be a consistent point scorer, and that's about it. But this season, his qualifying performances have been spot on.
Yeah.
And the amount of times that he's made it into that Super 6 has really quite surprised me.
And he's had a lot of bad luck with the car catching fire, which I don't really think is...
Twice.
Yeah. I'm not really sure you can blame the driver for that. And didn't he have a clutch problem on the grid, won the races as well, I seem to remember. So, mechanically... And that's been the biggest thorn in Hyundai's side this season, really, because Pearson had throttle link problems as well at Thruxton. That might be playing a little bit on Ingram's mind in terms of the championship. It does seem the most mechanically fragile out of the top teams. However, it's a B- for Chilton so far. Decent start to the year.
Yep.
We're not, I think it's fair to say he's probably over his peak. But But this is a nice resurgent season for Tom so far.
An Indian summer, as you would.
Moving on to Pearson. You were quite down on Pearson when we did this discussion last night between the football. Pearson's got a win. Let's not forget that. He sits 15th overall in the championship, which is perhaps a little bit lower than you'd expect. I grant you that.
I do sometimes forget that he obviously got a win at the opening round, and they were at Donington.
Was it Donington? No.
Was it?
No.
Where was it?
It was Brands Hatch. Because Moffat won at Donington for race 3.
Yes, he did. Apologies. I was misremembering. That's fine.
I'm just double checking myself.
No.
Moffat won.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. No, Pearson, I don't know. He's really struggled outside of obviously that success that he had. And I don't know, whether it's down to the car, whether he's not feeling as comfortable as he should. But he's also, and more credit possibly to Dobble on this case, he's not leading the Jack Sears, which I spoke to him before the start of the season, and that is really what he's going out for this season. Yeah,
but just because you want to doesn't mean it's going to happen. I want
No.
Gareth Southgate to play attractive, expansive football and to play people in their proper positions. But no doubt we'll see Jordan Pickford in midfield this evening because he can spray a pass. So
I reckon he played that quite well.
Anyway, let's not get bogged down with where Pickford can play. I agree. I think it's about where we expect him to be. Perhaps a little further back, but then balance that out with the fact that he has taken a win. And you can't take that away from him.
No.
That is really important. I think that second half of the season we've got to see a little bit more consistency, a little bit more of a better showing in the Jack Sears. But I think you've hit the nail on the head. A lot of that has to go to respect to Dobble, who we'll get to, who has just done a really solid job in that series. Yeah. So, and then,
on the flip side,
finally it's Nick Halstead. Now look, 13th is his best position or best place of the season. He sits 21st in the championship. It's very easy to bash on Halstead, and we're not doing it for the sake of it, but it's just been off the pace for one reason or another. And there has been mitigating circumstances. One weekend he was unwell for The second week, the weekend at just gone at Alton Park, he's still had back pain from Thruxton, so there are mitigating circumstances, and he's also, I think this is his second full season, so there is mitigation, but he is so far off the pace in this championship. He's I've gone for an E overall.
It's the fact that he's struggling against the Cupras, which we know have troubles,
and one's a complete rookie as well.
And that's what we get onto, is that Sumpton has not been in the championship for. He's a fairly young, inexperienced touring car driver. Yes, he's done TCR, but we know that's not quite the same. And I just, being in that second season, I thought, okay, I'll give him a little bit of a chance.
You didn't. You wrote off the season start. I tried to give him a bit of the chance, but
I just kind of felt that this was coming.
Yeah, look, I don't. We're not here to bash anybody. They all work incredibly hard to get to the grid, and they are way quicker than.
And he does a hell of a lot behind the scenes for the touring cars itself.
Absolutely, and he's way quicker than I can put a car around the circuit. So let's get that right. But I've been disappointed when you consider that 15 out of 20 places pays points this season. So you've only got to beat really 3 cars, because 2 always retire, generally speaking. Well, two cars will generally always retire, won't they?
Or have a difficult weekend.
It's very rare, or have a lap down. It's very rare you'll get the full field finish.
Yeah.
And to only to be 21st and only have the 13th for your best position, it's just a bit. And I think the other problem for me is that is the gaps he's off. It's not like he's on the coattails and luck just needs to go his way. He's just so far off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Toyotas.
Toyotas. We'll start off with Cookie. 1 win, 3 podiums, 5th in the championship overall. B+.
Yeah, he's quietly growing into that car.
I agree.
He's obviously he's taken that win now, which kind of gets that monkey off his shoulders, because he hasn't had a win for a couple of seasons.
I've never heard it on the shoulders before. Monkey in the back, but it's moved to the shoulders for Cook, isn't it?
Oh, okay, it's wrapped around his ears.
That's your neck, crucially. It's going well for you this morning, isn't it?
Yeah. But I can't.
Is it that second breakfast weighing heavy?
I'm in the difficult position of, I expected a lot more from Toyota, but I've readjusted my expectations of Toyota now. I've seen them go through the season and seen them at the track and stuff, and I think he's doing really well in respect of that.
Yeah, I think, let's not forget for Cook, this is a new car for him. He's raced.
New car for all of them.
Well, he's raced a Honda for a very long time,
Yep.
so he's used to that setup and whatnot. Toyota are now obviously running a 4-car team. That will be different for them, and you'd have thought that the main priority for them will be Huff and Watson as the main.
Certainly at the start of the season.
Yeah. So,
however, I think those expectations have maybe adjusted as they've gone through the season.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But no, I think you're right. He's grown into the season well. I don't see him challenging for the title overall. I really don't. But next year, with the whole season underneath him, I can see it. But the car's improving all the time with him. Perhaps not so much with the other 3 drivers, potentially. But look, he's taken a win. He's got 3 podiums, and he's 5th in the championship. I think if he'd offered that at the halfway stage to him, he'd have taken it.
It's kind of a Cook season, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. But I think if you'd offered that to, maybe not Cook, but Toyota at the start of the season, they would have probably taken it.
Yeah. Moffat then, his teammate, pleasantly surprised by him this season.
Yeah, I mean,
he seems at home in that car, and I don't know whether it's because it's gone back to more of the form of what the Mercedes was that he'd spent so many years taking around the track, but having that win.
As the chairman of the anti-Moffat brigade, it's a difficult time for you, isn't it?
He's quietly impressed me. He's had a few off races, every driver kind of does. But it's a B for me. Yeah,
so it's 1 win, 1 podium, 9th overall. His biggest Achilles heel this season is qualifying. He's got to get through Q1 more often, because that's his biggest Achilles heel. He's always starting on the back foot a little bit which has suited his way of driving, because he comes through the field generally quite well.
Yep.
However, that's been his Achilles heel this season. He's only made out of Q1 once, which is not good enough. It's as simple as that. It's not good enough.
And when you start down there, you're more likely to get caught up in incidents as well.
And he has had some really bad luck as well when he has started high up the field. Things have fallen out of the car, which hasn't gone down very well. But that has been a problem for him. But I think I'd probably say it's B-, but I'm not going to argue with you too much.
Blimey, I want to give a higher grade than you on Moffat. Wow.
Well, I don't want to stop this goodwill, this dissolution of your brigade. So I'm happy to bow on that one. Moving across to the Toyota proper, as it were. Rob Huff first, 1 win, 11th overall. Giving him a C. Look, it's his first season back. He's taken a win. That's great.
Yeah.
Pace, I think, needs improving overall. But I think you could say that for the Toyotas generally, maybe Cook aside. He's still a bloody good racer, that's clear. Yeah, he's still very much got it. He's mixing it with the best of them.
He fights hard, doesn't he, sometimes?
He does.
And he is that classic old school touring car driver.
I think C may be slightly harsh on reflection. I think C plus is probably...
I think halfway through the season...
To have a win already.
He would have been expecting to be inside the top 10.
Yeah, but he's only just outside
I know, but his expectations, he would probably have thought, I'll be ahead of the Vauxhalls, he's behind Taylor Smith. I'll be ahead of...
But in fairness, Taylor Smith's had a ridiculous season so far.
He would probably have expected to be ahead of Moffat.
Yeah, I'd accept that.
Especially being in the quite main team.
Yeah, I can accept that.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, it's been a positive return for Huff so far. Hopefully he's here for the long term. We'll see him for a couple more seasons yet, because it's a joy having him back.
The fact that he wants to go and challenge for the championship, I don't think it was ever quite realistic that was going to happen in the first season back. So I'm expecting him to be here for a good couple of seasons.
I hope so. I suppose the driver that's disappointed me the most out of the Toyota outfit is the one we're going to talk about next, which is Watson. Yep. Obviously, he came to Toyota with a really good reputation after his debut season with PMR last year. 5th is his best position overall, so not even a podium yet in the Toyota. Yeah. He's 14th overall in the Drivers' Championship. That's behind Dobble, just as a sort of an indication. It's a C overall. Look, let's just take ourselves back a few steps. It's his second season in the touring cars. You're not saying it's a C?
No, I've got a D.
Oh, okay.
I thought we agreed on these yesterday.
Well, mine was already written down in the photograph, so I couldn't change it. Okay. That's fine. We'll say D. But let's just take ourselves back a few steps then. It's only his second full season.
Yes.
He's a very young driver.
Yes.
And he's learning a brand new car. And by his own admission, that's been a challenge.
Dare I say?
You may.
And can I come out with another saying?
It depends if you're going to get it right or not.
The grass isn't always greener on the other side.
You can't see the wood for the mountains.
Yeah, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. And there was...
No, I'm not having that. I'm not having that at all.
I'm
not having that. God, you can make your point, and I'm going to absolutely decimate it for you. I'm going to be all Alistair Campbell and Nadine Dorothy. You start off.
I do wonder where he would be in the championship if he was still in an Astra. I think he'd be around Taylor Smith.
Okay.
I think he might well be inside the top 10.
To quote the...
Depending on luck and how things work out. But I think he'd be a higher position than he is currently in the championship.
To do the Liverpool TikTok meme with it is, I don't do if, buts or maybes, I do absolutes, right? And if your anti-ad should be your...
Yeah,
do you know what I'm trying to say? If he was in a BMW, he might win the championship. If he didn't get funding, he'd be on the grid. There's too many ifs. I think Toyota is a step up on Vauxhall. You've gone from a smaller, with respect to Adam Weaver's outfit, a smaller independent team to a heavyweight of motorsport. You take that every day of the week.
I can completely understand that move is the one that you go, I understand why he's gone there because of this reason, this reason, this reason. But what I'm saying, and it's something that we discussed in the pre-season, is would it actually benefit him moving from a team and a car that he knows?
You said the grass isn't always greener.
At the moment, it's not, because I think, as I reiterate, he should be higher in the championship.
Yeah, and I agree that I think perhaps a second season where would have been a good thing. However, we know that in touring cars, the doors don't often open twice.
Look at Dobble.
Yeah, but had he stayed... Okay, you're into this ifs, buts and maybes territory. Had he stayed on at PMR,
yes,
right, and had a terrible season, for argument reasons, because the car broke down or whatever,
I understand where you're
do Toyota then knock from next season go, or do they go, oh, actually, no. I think that your touring car career is horrifically short, and it is
for some drivers more than others.
Yeah, and you live and die by the sword, as it were. I think if you get a chance at a seat like Toyota, I think you have to take it regardless of circumstances. I agree with you that he would probably have done better to get your feet under, like a double house. I agree with you on that, to stay where you know and keep building your legacy. But it could be a short career. And I think that you can't blame him. I certainly don't blame him for taking what I think is a step up. Had he gone to, with respect, Restart Racing, I'd agree with you.
Yeah.
But Toyota is a step up for me, and I think that I can understand it.
Well, shall we get on to the Astras then? Because that's where obviously Watson came from, and they are doing rather well.
Yeah, so I'm giving Aaron Taylor-Smith an A-.
Yep.
1 podium, 7th overall. He's won all but one, I think, of the independent trophies. And I'm not even going to listen to people that say, well, who's he up against? You've still got to finish the race. You've still got to win them. It doesn't matter who you're up against. You've still got to win it.
Yeah.
And he's done that very, very consistently. He's mixed it with the best of them at the front. His qualifying is really good. He's taken that Astra and made me look very stupid with my...
Again.
Yeah. Every weekend I go, oh, I'm not sure the Astra have the pace. And every weekend he finds a way to make it have the pace.
Yeah.
I genuinely think a win's on the cards for Taylor-Smith this year through potentially reverse grid. I genuinely think he will take a race win outright.
That'll please your dad.
Yeah. And I genuinely think he will take at least, at the very least, a podium before the season is out.
Yeah.
Another podium, sorry.
He was unlucky, but I kind of think that they had a word with each other before that race at Alton, where they were obviously both on the front row. And whoever got the best start, I think, was going to be the case of, okay, the second person is going to play rear gunner.
And he did that really well. He played that. And that's, that's the great thing about his team mentality is that, he had wanted that win just as much as Dobble would have done. But I think the fact he was willing to go, do you know what? I'm going to try and hold Hill back for as long as I can. And did it isn't a criticism of our taste. So had he held him back for one more lap, Hill wouldn't have won the race.
No.
I've now done my if buts and maybes. But anyway, so Aaron Taylor-Swift's done really well. He's going to win the independent championship, you'd have thought. I suppose my only question mark about him is that will any of the quote bigger teams take a chance on him next year? 2 really good seasons at PMR back to back. I mean, look, he's very happy though. You can see he feels really settled in the team and he's enjoying himself. And
I think he relishes that underdog status being in Astra.
I agree with you. I think just going back to Watson, that's also really important. Is that are you enjoying? I'm not saying he's not enjoying himself, Watson, but are you enjoying where you're at? Because if you are, it makes it so much easier if you're enjoying the work environment you're in, and you can see Taylor-Swift just loves where he is.
I don't forget he's had opportunities at bigger teams before, and I think he's kind of a late developer. He seems to be getting better with age, and certainly more consistent. And he's a driver you can depend on, and I think that's exactly what Team PMR need.
I'd also argue that is exactly what, say, a Hyundai would want alongside Tom Ingram.
Yeah,
but there we go.
Yeah,
that's a discussion for another day.
Dobble
next up, which is we've gone for a B, doing really well in Jack Sears, 1 podium, which is also at Alton Park.
Yep.
13th overall. A quietly spectacular season so far for me. It looks like he's set to win the Jack Sears if the form carries on.
Do you know, on my notes, in my mind, I still think he won that race at Alton.
Yeah, I know.
Because he should have done. He performed so well in that race and drove it with such competence and confidence that...
Well, if you're going to use that many C's, you might as well have give him a C. But
no, it's definitely a B, and I think he will smash Jack Sears this year.
Yeah,
especially with how Osborne's performing and the luck that Pearson seems to be having.
Well, it's the consistency, as we always say in the Jack Sears.
Yes.
To do well in the Jack Sears, you just have to finish. Basically, you have to finish each race. That's how you do well in it, and he's doing that really well. That's he's finishing more races than he's not, and that's the key to success in that championship.
Yeah, right, let's get on to the Cupras then.
Yeah, so obviously, Restart Racing, debut season in the touring cars, a bit of a stalwart in Chris Smiley, though he's been away for a couple of years. We'll start with Smiley. 8th is his best position overall. He's 17th in the championship overall. It's a C. He's been fine, given what you'd expect. The car certainly seems to be improving, and he seems to be getting used to it, again, as you would expect. Interesting what the second half of the season can hold for Smiley and see if he can keep this good form going and keep bringing it further up the grid. At times, I mean, Snetterton, he was so unlucky. He ran so well at Snetterton and just effing went wrong for him with the tyres and then the door and whatnot. So, yeah, interesting to see what the second half holds for Smiley. A good start, solid start is a C.
Yeah, he's been quietly consistent in that car with a few good showings, and when he's up there and battling with others, he is able to hold his own relatively. But I think his experience is really helping him through at this point.
Agreed. Other side of the garage, Scott Sumpton. 11th is his best position, so he has scored points, which is always good.
Yep.
He sits 20th overall, so that's ahead of Nick Halstead, and we're giving him a D overall. I think that he is a little bit off the pace. Look, it's not a surprise. He's not an experienced driver. It's his first year in the touring cars, as we said earlier. You've got to give him a little bit of slack. I expect him to be a little bit quicker than he has been, but he's also had a bit of bad luck mechanically with the car as well.
I think the only driver he can really sort of like face off against is De Leon, who we'll get onto next, and I think he's just had not quite enough compared to him.
He has had some bad luck mechanically as well.
He has, yeah. But I want to see a little bit more pace from him, a little bit more confidence in the car.
Because I can't work out, are the Coopers good as racing cars or not? I really can't decide. I really don't
Depends
know.
on the weekend sometimes, and it depends on how the drivers are feeling.
Yeah, but even last year at Hard, they had some good drivers in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Crease is at Silverstone this weekend in the Porsches. He's not a bad driver. Dan Lloyd is a very good driver. Obviously, Thompson isn't, in my opinion, an elite driver. But I just can't work out if that Cooper's any good or not. I really can't. I don't know.
The only way we'll find that out is if Sutton drives it.
Well, no, because like I've said before, you give Sutton an office chair and he'd find a way to make it win. So, yeah. Okay, moving on to the final drive then, which is Darrell de Lyon. He sits 19th overall, 10th is his best position. I gave a little bit of an impassioned speech about how it was all going wrong for him before Orton Park, and he did very well. It's a C overall. Look, I still think...
I love how the Coopers proved you wrong that weekend.
yeah. Look, it's a C overall. I still think that there are doubts, shall I say, about the outfit.
Yes.
And mechanical problems,
Yes.
etc. However, de Lyon is a lightning quick driver. He's doing really well in difficult circumstances. He's not making a fuss. He's not saying the wrong thing. He's not throwing his toys out the pram. He's just getting on with the job, and he's gaining experience in the touring cars as he does so. Yeah, I don't know what the second... finish more points in the top 10 if he can second half of the season. I think that's about as best as you can really hope for. I don't, as I said before, I don't know how good the Coopers are. I know he's a quick driver, but it's going to be difficult. The outfit is not. It's not ideal circumstances for a rookie.
That first weekend out at Donington was a real baptism of fire for him, and he showed really well there. He hasn't quite hit those heights again since.
No,
but the car, I feel, has had a few issues since then as well.
And
he's only a one-car outfit, effectively.
Yeah, I was just also thinking that, in terms of the development race, what are they going to be developing throughout the season as a one-car small outfit? Certainly not in the way you'd expect the people he's racing against, i.e. even PMR and maybe to a lesser extent Restart Racing. But Pearson is another one, and Osborne, you'd have thought would be developing as the season goes on. Yeah, he's done really well in the circumstances. There's rumours of a second car joining for next season. That there was rumours of lots of things happening which didn't happen, so we're not going to get into those. All we know is that what he's doing this season, he's doing okay. I think that's about as much as we can really say.
Yes. Let us know your thoughts on, obviously, driver grades throughout the season.
And remember, they're just a bit of fun. Don't take them too seriously. If your driver's not got the grade you think, we don't hate them. There's no conspiracy. We're not here to try and unseat, give any particular driver name here. It's just a bit of fun, and it's like bottom holes opinions. Everybody has one. I don't know if I can say the A word. Will YouTube demonetise us? I don't know. Not that we are monetised, but let's not get demonetised before we even started.
Let us know your thoughts and feelings. You may have favourite drivers out there that you want to give a higher grade. That's completely up to you.
We've tried to stay fair, haven't we?
And how you think the drivers are going to fare in the second half of the season, because we will bring you an end-of-year graded review. But yeah, should we get on to our mid-season awards?
Yes. Yeah. Who's your driver of the mid-season so far? Let's say season so far.
Yeah, I think it has to be Hill. The performances, especially that he's shown in the last 3 events, have really obviously propelled him to the top.
Yep.
And he seems to just be able to get in the car each weekend. Yes, he had a little bit of trouble in qualifying at Alton.
Yeah, it happens.
But on the whole, race-wise, he seems to be able to get in the car each weekend and just go out and drive it as fast as he wants to.
Yeah, I can understand that. I'm not going to argue too much. I'm not going to say the same because I want to have a little bit of variety.
Yeah.
I'm going Aaron Taylor-Smith in terms of my...
your expectations.
They were low, and perhaps unfairly so, but boy has he smashed them, and he's done incredibly well. And if you'd said he'd be 7th in the championship at the halfway stage with a podium,
Yeah, I don't think I'd have even called that.
No.
So
I know it's only a effectively 20-person championship, but I think so far he's really gone above and beyond that car. So I'm going to Smith.
My villain.
Yep.
It kind of has to be Osborne.
Yeah, I can understand
He's been so poor. I kind of expected Halstead to be where he is.
Yeah.
I really didn't expect Osborne to be that far back.
No, I can understand that.
And he's so far off the pace sometimes, and I just want more.
I'm going to be my usual self and be a bit abstract and perhaps a bit cliched, but I'm going for the funding of British touring car seats that Thompson bought Barney the Dinosaur to Snetterton. Everybody loved it.
Yep.
He took a podium. He was quick in the second race. Okay, he had a penalty for the false start, but and he was then good in race 3. How on earth is the funding that goes around touring car seats not keeping Thompson on the grid? I cannot get my head around it. It's nonsense.
What more amazes me is the fact that BMW can't just go, yeah, you're good. You're exactly what we kind of need.
It depends on what deal is already in place with Morgan, doesn't it? Is it a multi-year deal that was already, is it a 2-year deal for Morgan, etc.? Because they're not in the. I don't think WSR are the Helmut Marko school of will just cancel the contract. That they don't strike me as that kind of team.
No.
Dare I say, rather cliche and stereotype, they come across as quite efficient and quite well organised.
German.
You said it, not me. So I think that's a big dependent on that. I think when Morgan's contract expires, there'll be serious conversations happening at WSR about whether they extend Morgan or bring in Thompson. Of course, it'll always depend on what Turkington's doing as well. But I just think that, what more does Thompson need to show to potential investors that he is worth investing in?
Especially when you get that opportunity, you put in a top line car and you go out and put in that kind of performance, having only done one shakedown test kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, what more do I need to do?
That's it. So, and I'm not going to say, well, X has got to drive and put a name in Wise and Thompson. That's not fair, because I say everybody works really hard to get onto the touring car grid. And there's lots of drivers that aren't on it who probably should be on it. And, okay, life's not fair, but I just think we're potentially, I'm gonna go all out here and bet the house, as it were. I think we're potentially letting a touring car champion slip through the series, because I think he's good enough to win a championship. I really do.
Okay.
In the right machinery.
You're surprised good.
I'm going to go for Tom Chilton. Insofar as, as you said, when he's announced to the grid, you kind of go, well, Tom, he's earned his place on the grid. He's a bit of a stalwart of the series. He'll be here as long as he wants to be here. We know that funding and money isn't as much a problem for him as it might be for other drivers.
Do you know what it feels like? Do you remember when Ferrari used to get the historical payments for being in the F1 championship? Yeah. It's kind of like that.
But what I will say,
he's there because he's been there so long.
What I will say in his defence is that you look at other drivers that stayed for very long. Plato comes to mind. He's not going out with a whimper.
No. As
I think Jason did.
Not yet.
Come at me, Jason fans. But I think that Plato did go out with a whimper. Whereas I think that I think Chilton's still performing at a decent enough level in the series. And this season, he has surprised you. The pace really has been there. Okay, he's not matching Tom Ingram, but very few would in that team anyway. Or very few do anyway. I think he's had a really strong start to the season. Long may that continue.
You've been reading my notes, because he's my surprise as well. Yes. Okay. I've been pleasantly surprised by him this season, and those qualifying performances that he's had, as I've already mentioned, they kind of come out of nowhere. I don't think he's ever really been famed for being that good in qualifying, but he seems to be there or thereabouts. I just wonder whether this new format suits him much better.
Yeah, quite possibly.
But my surprise bad though.
Yep.
Has to be Watson.
Yeah.
I was expecting a lot more. I was expecting more from Toyota, but I readjusted those.
That's what's doing so bad, is it? You readjusted.
I readjusted those expectations, and he's still not performing at the level I think that he can.
Yeah, but I would caveat that with he's had half a season in a brand new car in his second full season. Let's judge him at the end of the year.
In an Astra, he'd be further ahead, I think. But yours?
In a Audi, I'd be more confident in my car, but it's surprise bad, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm going for WSR. Not with Jake Hill. So I'm going for the two They came out in the pre-season.
Okay.
So let me just run a point. Okay. I'm talking about Turkington and Morgan here more than I am Jake Hill side of things, okay? But they came out at the start of the season saying, we've changed this, we've beefed up that, we've got this fantastic new era, we're back with a punch, baby. Well, they're not. Quite simply, they're not. Jake Hill aside, who is, in my opinion, embarrassing the quote works, the full-on work side of the garage. And I want to be absolutely clear, when I say surprise bad BMW, I'm taking Hill out of that because he's laser tools with WSR, whereas this is WSR. Yeah, there was a lot of noise coming out from the start of the season about how much they'd changed and how much they're ready for the season, and they accepted that last year they were down on power, they were down on this, they've made all those changes. Well, I'm sorry, you're 6th and 8th in the championship. You're arguably both out of the championship already, and you're being completely outshone by the guy next to you in the garage.
Dare I say?
Go on.
Are Turkington and Morgan, well, we know Turkington and Morgan
aren't. Hill is a better driver than
the
both.
top quality drivers on the grid now.
Hill is a better driver than both at this moment in time, yeah.
And
I agree with you on that. At this moment in time, Turkington has been, let me just caveat before I start getting upset with everybody on this podcast, Turkington has been and will go down as one of the best drivers of the touring cars we've ever seen. That is, you don't win 4 championships by being a bad driver. That does not happen.
But his style doesn't suit the championship anymore.
The way it is now, and of course you also have a peak. He's been in the series a long time. Matt Neal was a superb driver. Towards the end, he stopped winning races, he stopped competing. And Turkington's not quite at that level yet, but you have a peak in any sport, in any walk of life, you have a peak. But yeah, they made a lot of noise coming into the season about how they're ready for this fight. Well, you're 6th and 8th. Morgan certainly isn't winning the championship this year. I think Turkington's out of it at the halfway stage. I really do. Yeah. I really do. And Hill on the other side of the garage, and I accept that Hill at this moment in time is better than them both, but this is the satellite team. This is the, and I think Hill's completely outshining and embarrassing the other two. And I think WSR are a surprise bag, given what we expected coming into the season. We really expect them to be, a lot better. And I think they've got the second best car on the grid, but I don't think it's been utilised properly.
Okay. Well, let us know your...
And defence shield up.
Let us know your thoughts and feelings on Russell's opinions. We'll be happy to read through all the comments and any bits and pieces on social media. We will be coming up with all sorts of different podcasts throughout that summer, or this summer break, should I say, before we get back to racing. And and until the next video, basically, have a good summer, watch the football if you like it, and it's coming home? No, it's not coming home.
Well, they are coming home.
They are coming home at some point, yeah.
Jared and Shaqiri, 89th minute, top corner, breaking England hearts.
Right, we'll be back again soon.